You ready?
I'm ready.
Let me ask you this. Am I ready?
That's a question only you can answer.
And the answer is no. Here we go. Hello and welcome, fellow awesomeologists, to Awesomeology, the show where we find awesome things and dish them up just for you from the comfort and safety of our own homes. My name is Sue. I forgot to introduce myself.
I'm waiting.
Just keep on waiting, buddy.
All right. And I am Vince. In this episode, we are feeling just a tiny bit more like work-at-home experts. So we have invited some of our own... I'm moving in my chair. Sorry, it was rolling away. We have invited some of our exclamation teammates to talk about their experiences working from home lately. And can I just say, so we did a thing we haven't done before. Here's us trying new things. We've already recorded the episode, so we're going to go into that. And let me say, you are in for a treat.
And we are recording, right?
No funny faces, Nicole.
All the funny faces. So welcome, Nicole and Katie. And I've already said your names, but we're going to let you introduce yourselves and tell us what you do in the organization. Tell us just a little bit about yourselves. And why don't you start, Nicole, because you're first on my screen.
Fine. My name is Nicole. I work at Exclamation. My title is Information Systems Coordinator, and I basically coordinate an orchestra of really smart people. And it is one of the most interesting jobs that I've ever had. I've only been at it for maybe a year. I would say it's kind of a project managing role, and I love it. And I have 2 wonderful dogs, and I love to be outside. Those are my things.
That's your whole thing. And so you've only been doing this job for like a year, but how long have you been at the credit union?
I was at the credit union for 11 years.
Okay.
11, yeah.
Right.
It was 11 in December.
Okay.
So I've done everything. I started as a teller, and then I went up to the new accounts role back when we had new accounts. And then I was moved into the call center, and then I was the call center supervisor. And then I went into a back office role, which was kind of a combination of IT and accounting. And now I am in the IT department, but I do a lot of work with our online banking platform. And so that's my IT background, is that kind of stuff.
Okay, nice. Katie, what about you?
Yeah, so Katie Zaleski. I am the VP of Human Resources for Exclamation and for Simplicity. So I do all things HR and training. My team does all things HR and training. So we have an awesome team that has been very busy doing that. But really looking at organizational development, professional development, and organizational culture. Like those are the things that I love about HR. And then there's all the other things in HR that we do, but those are the ones that get me jazzed. My background is I've been in HR now for 4 years, which seems crazy. It's gone so fast. And prior to that, I was in the IT department in a core systems specialist role. And so really looked at best practices in the core system. So I've been with Simplicity Exclamation this time for 5 years. And I had a 7-year black hole, and then was with Simplicity, Central City, prior to our rebrand, but for 2 years. And I started as a teller and then moved into the head teller role for about a year and a half of those 2 years. So like Nicole, kind of been in multiple different departments of the credit union, which I think allows us to have that understanding of different departments when we're working with so many different areas. So I have 2 boys. I know Nicole went into like her puppies and what she likes to do in her spare time. I have 2 boys, so I do things all little boy, sports and outside and mud, and we're a really active on the go kind of family. That's how I am as a person. So this has been a very interesting and a huge adjustment for me and our family. So excited to talk about that.
Nice. Well, and actually, I'm really glad it was you two. I mean, I would have been glad it was you two anyway. I'm glad it would be anyone, but both of you sort of have unique perspectives on our team. Katie, you had done some international traveling. Nicole, your lungs are made out of cotton. What did I say last week? Mothballs and cheese sticks. Isn't that what your lungs are made out of?
So true.
Oh, yeah. So your doctor has asked you to stay home. So this is a little bit. You guys have an extra layer. Let's talk about. Now I've outed you both on what that is, and I've given away all the good stuff, including Nicole's unique lungs. Yeah. So tell us about sort of what the difference is for both of you from the other members of our team that, just one day we said, okay, well, if you can work at home, you need to work at home. Tell us about your slightly unique situations a little bit.
So mine has been, it's been a little traumatic for me. I'm going to be honest. It's very challenging for me because I'm the person that takes care of the household, right? I'm the one that goes to the grocery store. I'm the one that goes everywhere to pick up the things that we need. So I've had to relinquish all of that to Mick. My doctor asked me to stay home. The end. I can go for a walk with my dogs, and that is it. So that's what I get to do a lot of. And I have been taking time to go outside and rake my leaves for a little bit every day, just so that I get outside and get some activity. So it's been, it's really good though, right? Because my boyfriend has to do all of our shopping, and he never realized how much that takes, right? So when you run out of something, you have to go get something, and it costs money.
It doesn't just magically appear.
Yeah, it doesn't just magically appear, exactly. And also, with him being, he doesn't have to stay at home right now. He still works. But with that being said, when he comes home, he changes in the garage. He goes right to the shower. We disinfect his shoes, and his clothes go right in the washing machine. And we don't share a space anymore. He sleeps in a different area than me. So it's not just isolation from other strangers, it's isolation from my own family too, because it's too dangerous for me to be exposed to it. So it has been an adventure, and it's interesting because we are finding other things to entertain ourselves and each other. And he is a bigger part of taking care of the house too, because now I have to wash the dishes more often because we're eating at home all the time. So the other day I was like, here I go, washing the dishes again. Here I go, washing the dishes again. So he's learning a lot about what it takes to take care of a house, which is, I think it's great. And my dogs are thrilled because they get to go outside like every 30 seconds like they want to. So it's been a really good change. And also I'm reaching out to the rest of my family more frequently. Like every other day I'm texting everybody to make sure everybody's okay, which I never did that with my sister-in-laws. So it's been good. It's really been good. And I don't mind working at home, but I do have to have these video conferences to see humans.
Cool. Well, that's good to hear that you're getting positivity about it. Because you also are like one of those super active, like out and doing things all of the time kind of people. So
yeah, it's definitely been a slowdown. I've also become more relaxed. I don't feel as stressed, and I don't have the same level of anxiety that I used to have, because I think I used to think that I had to get more stuff done, and I had to. Now, I guess technically I have an excuse, right? I don't feel pressured to go visit people where maybe I used to feel pressured to go visit people. Now I can't, so I don't feel bad about it. I know that sounds weird, but you know, for me, I am a very outgoing person, but then I always strive to make sure that I'm spending enough time with everybody so that it makes itself a little bit on the stressful side. So I don't know, it's been really good. I'm happy. I mean, I can't wait for it to be over, but I am also pretty content right now.
Nice. Very nice. Katie, tell us a little bit about you.
I'm the polar opposite at this point. Like, you know, I have, it's interesting because I've had conversations with a number of people because I've never had anxiety before. And so you referenced that I travel internationally. I've traveled internationally since 2017. I've been doing a lot of traveling. I travel to Africa and work with credit unions in Africa, which is amazing. And, you know, I think that I am probably almost to a fault so relaxed in some situations that I drive people crazy. And I feel like that's one of my, you know, as we all grow older, we think we have different superpowers. And I think one of my new understanding of superpowers is my being adaptable and adaptability into situations. And so it's been interesting and almost very humbling for me because when all of this went down, I was in Kenya. And so I was having a very nice, restful sleep, and my phone went off, and it was about 3 a.m. And I read a text that said that President Trump had shut down international travel.
Oh my gosh.
So that's what I woke up to. And so here I am at 3 a.m, not able to do anything, realizing that I am now stuck in Kenya. And I mentioned before, I have 2 little boys and my husband at home. And the only thing I could think about was, how do I get home to my husband and my 9 and 5-year-old sons when they've shut down travel. Now, thankfully, about an hour and a half later, there was a revision to that statement. And I realized that not all international travel was shut down. And so that was, huge for me. But we went the next 3 days trying to revise and figure out travel. And, getting a hold of Delta was a 7-hour wait, and they would call you back. I was supposed to fly through Amsterdam, which is where you didn't want to fly. And so thankfully I had some amazing colleagues in Africa who were able to kind of take care of that. I'm really spoiled in that regard, and I recognize that, but I got a direct flight back from Nairobi to JFK. So, at least for that part, I felt really good until I got to JFK and realized that I was in the epicenter of cases in the US, and that my risk of exposure now was once I got back to the US. They were trying to do health assessments, which I totally understand, but they implemented this strategy, and I will say all day, every day, they did not give customs any tools to succeed or handle the sheer volume that they were going to have to intake. And I sat in a small 20 by 30 room for about just under 3 hours, a little between 2.5 and 3 hours. And the entire time, all I could think of is, if I'm going to be exposed, it's at this moment. And there was nothing I could do about it. So as we're talking about getting used to working from home interruptions. So literally I realized that this was my new reality, and I had a 14-day quarantine. So unlike Nicole, I was required to have a 14-day quarantine because of that potential exposure. So I went from, being a super social person and being able to have a lot of freedom doing international travel to now being stuck at home, band-aided for 14 days and not able to leave my house, and then really requiring and relying on my husband to do everything. So that was interesting and similar adjustment. Rather than relax, I started having anxiety attacks for the first time in my life. And I was convinced 3 days after getting home that I for sure had caught COVID-19. At this point, I'm out of my 14-day quarantine. Let's just celebrate for a second. But I couldn't breathe, and I was having these horrible headaches, and I had no idea it was just that level of stress, and that was anxiety. So it's been interesting to experience that. But also it's made me very aware. I've always listened to people say how kind of deep, how difficult anxiety is, and dealing with anxiety. And I've always tried to be empathetic to it. But it was very eye-opening to that and humbling for me. So,
yeah.
I think it's so funny that we're like so opposite, you know, because that was my life before all of this happened. I had anxiety to no end, like for real. And now I'm just, okay, it is what it is. And then you're the total opposite. So.
I was like, what is this thing? I literally called one of my friends in the middle of the night who has talked very openly about her anxiety. And Nancy lives in North Dakota. And I was like, I need you to tell me what anxiety feels like. What? Like, no, just tell me what it is. And she, as soon as I knew that, I just was like, okay, what do I need to do? And she gave me some coping tools, which was great. And I just made myself step back and play outside, play baseball with the boys, whatever. And the second I wasn't dealing with everything COVID and being in HR, that's literally what I do every day, all day now. That chest tightness, those massive headaches, all of that kind of just went away. And I realized like, this is what that is. Very interesting. But I think it's interesting, Sue, you know, too, as we talk about this from an HR perspective, as we listen to Nicole's story, you know, there's a lot of people who I just don't think take this safer at home as serious as they should. And I think listening to this, and I think that that's going to be such a key thing about this with Nicole, is that, you know, sometimes it seems mean when I'm sending out an email that says, no, you literally can't hang out with any friends. And people are, you know, that's what the safer at home order is. And questioning, why is it so strict? And then when you take a step back and I think about how much I care about Nicole, and I love working with Nicole, I can't imagine anything that I did selfishly to go get together with my friends could be so detrimental to Nicole's health, you know? So.
Right. No, that's a really good point. A thing that, and I don't want us to get super down this.
No, totally.
A thing that I constantly think about, and where I'm at right now, and like when I'm left just to think about things, a thing that really, really depresses me is that my parents are both elderly, but my mom is diabetic, and she had pneumonia like a week before we got quarantined, and my husband is still working, so basically he's working, they have their stuff in place, but just the mere fact that he's going to work, I'm not going anywhere, but he's coming back here. So I can't see my mom right now. And all because I don't want her to get sick.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah. So your point, very well taken. Like this, it's not about, oh, I'm fine, this person seems fine, we're fine. It's about what you take, and not just what you take home or you take to work, but what you would carry anywhere you would go.
Yeah. I think the other piece of that too, in that I've seen some out there, there's some information on the CDC, but what it's like to be the person who does have it, and that weird guilt and having to call family members and having to call people, it's almost like this we're ostracizing like people in the communities who honestly, they're getting sick. It's not like, yes, I got COVID, you know?
Right.
But I think it's real, because one of the things that I think brought me so much anxiety was, if I got it and I came home, what if I give it to my kids? What if I give it to my husband?
Right.
how is that conversation going to be to them and explaining that to them? And I think that there's like that whole level of weird guilt out there too. That's interesting to think about and talk about. But I know that that's not why we're here talking today, but I just,
that's okay.
When Nicole was talking about it, it made me feel like, you know, sometimes I'm having those difficult conversations, but Nicole's why I'm having those conversations and why it's so important. So,
yeah. Well, and the thing that we talked about, unfortunately, I'm sorry for this, Vince, at your birthday lunch, which was the week before all of these, you know, we started working from home, things like that, is like just the fact that I think we even since then, everything is changing and we're watching everything change. And we're all experiencing, like, everyone is throwing around the word, you know, unprecedented. But I think it goes beyond the fact that there isn't a roadmap for exactly how this has to go, and moves into this area where everybody is experiencing something. They're experiencing it in a completely different way. They are dealing with things that everybody is dealing with, something that they haven't dealt with before. And like, this is a very good point of that. Like, someone who had a great amount of anxiety is suddenly like, well, I have no control over this and there's nothing I can do. And all I can do is this thing right here. And so I'll just do that. Versus somebody who's had no anxiety and suddenly everything's controlled around you. Not to say you're controlling, you know, I love you, but you can't do anything to control what you have to do. And so totally different experiences.
You can totally call me controlling. It's fine.
Okay. Well, I mean, I do to your face plenty of times.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I like
it's
it
safer on Zoom. Like, you do it across from a table with me. I don't know why you won't do it on Zoom. Like,
I like it because it's hypocritical. So I like to be as hypocritical as I possibly can at all times. So, but let's pivot. Yeah. Let's just pivot and try and bring ourselves back up. And let's talk about, see, we've all worked from home before. So, and maybe I just realized I'm going to ask this question. I don't know if this is going to bring us back up, but let's talk about, how is it different? What's happening now that just is different? Whether that's in regards to how you're feeling about it, what your routine is like, anything like that.
So this is, again, kind of silly, but I feel less guilty working from home, right? Because we didn't always get to work. Like, not everybody that can works from home, and not everybody that can gets to. So, you know, when Mike was my boss and he let me work from home, I still always felt really guilty about it, right? Because not everybody got to. So I always felt really guilty about it. And now I don't feel guilty about it. After a couple of weeks of this, you know, now, because last Friday would have been 2 weeks that I've been working from home, I'm finally getting into that necessary routine, right? So I've been putting on actual jeans and getting dressed and doing my hair and, you know, trying to kind of keep that going, because I did notice I have a lot more motivation when I'm in regular clothes than in sweatpants. But one thing I did notice when I work from home is that I am incredibly motivated to get stuff done, because I don't want to feel like I'm not doing my work. But then as you're sitting there and you're constantly working for 8 hours straight because you don't want to take a break or you don't feel like you should, you realize that you need to, and that you always did when you were at work. So what's the difference, right? You just feel like guilty about walking away from your stuff for 10 minutes when at work you wouldn't have cared. You would have just done it.
Right.
You know? So that has been a little bit of a learning curve for me too, but that's, like I said, I take 10 minutes twice a day and I go outside and I start raking my yard. So I get outside, I get some fresh air, and then I do feel really energized. And then I take, like, I don't even want to say it's like a little 5-minute stretch session that I have on my phone. So I do that throughout the day. And of course I grab a bite to eat, but yeah, it has started to become a bit of a routine. But I don't, this is also kind of weird. I don't get that 3 o'clock thing anymore where you start to get tired or worn out from the day. So I get to keep going until the end of the day, which I'm sure is because I go outside and take a break or do my stretches or, so it's when we go back to work, when we go back to work, it would be important to keep that kind of stuff going, to keep the little stretch breaks or get outside for a little bit. So again, I have less anxiety about working at home, so it's good for me.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because in the last one we did last week we were talking, and that was a point that I made. Like working from home, I always felt guilty stopping working. Like I go to the bathroom when I'm in the office,
right?
And and we will stop and have a conversation with somebody that you see, or that it's totally normal when you're in the office. But if I'm working from home and I get up away from my computer, then I'm at home.
Yeah.
So then I'm not working. And so, so like being sitting in front of the computer all day long is a thing that I find I only do when I'm at home instead of in an office. So yeah. What about you, Katie?
Yeah, so I think the thing that I found, so the first week that I was at home, I had my laptop up on my kitchen counter. And I found that, first of all, I was eating all the food. Like every meme about how you started like isolation thin and ended up being like this, like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Like I was there. Like I was like eating all the loaves of sourdough bread. I mean, it was not okay. So I was like, I spent my entire Sunday this last week modifying where I'm at now. So it's our basement guest room. But I have my grandpa's old desk in here and I just made my office. And I noticed that was just a huge difference for me because I would walk away from my laptop to go have dinner with my family. And then, my laptop was right there. So I'd be like, I'm just gonna check this. And so there was no separation of my work and my home life. So I moved my laptop in the basement. I'm still not great at it. Like, my husband's like, dinner's ready. You want to get done working? Yeah, sure. I'll come up. But I do think mentally it's made a huge difference for me to just have like that dedicated space. And I think that's, to me, from a policy standpoint, that's why people have a dedicated space in policies on telecommuting, because it really does make a difference. The other thing that I didn't have before that I have now is, you guys, as we were talking before, you saw like the little heads walking behind me. My kids in the house, because they're not at school, is a huge challenge for me, because kids don't think like, I can't ask my mom a question because mom's on the phone. So you guys saw I got up and shut the door and locked the door because their schoolwork, their school desks are in the other room in the basement. And so I've started shutting and locking the door, and that's my message to them, do not come in. So
that's a pretty clear message, right?
Yeah.
Closed, locked door.
Yeah. And believe me, there's been times where I've heard them fighting and hitting the wall on the other side as I'm in an important call or in a call with people. And I'm like, please. So I think that's been my biggest challenge, that in the past, on days that I've worked from home, I still take my kids to school and I pick them up from after school care. So it's finding this new balance of employee, all the things that you guys said that go along with that, the balance of employee, the balance of mom, and also school teacher, because I mean, my youngest son's in kindergarten, and I feel like that's such a critical year. And second semester of kindergarten is such a critical time on they go from writing letters to reading words, which is, crazy. And he's not getting that now. So what is the impact of all of this on my son next year when he goes to kindergarten? And I don't want to see him struggle, and I don't want to.
Right.
So I think that's the challenge, is which hat do I have on at any given moment? How I've overcome it is I need to laugh, like I just have the video meetings with everybody. Like I don't call people unless I have to. I just send invites through Teams and try to just have that person connection, because I'm like the extrovert of extroverts. And so I really miss seeing adults. And so that's I've done that, and finding really funny clips on YouTube or Facebook, or like at night, just finding things that laugh, and just that's been huge. And all the Zoom happy hours with people, like Nicole said, she connects with her family more. I feel like people have just gotten so good about, hey, we need to connect and we need to have that connection. And so I've had a lot of Zoom happy hours, which has been really cool for me.
Very cool. So Vince, what about you? How is it different for you?
I think the main, like I worked from home like maybe once or twice before this. Like we always could, but I never
But
really
you're pretty
did.
close to the office.
Yeah, it's it's a really far drive, so like 5 minutes maybe. So plus with kids in the house, little kids, like it was always easier just to have that, build in that separation where I'm at work, so you can't open my office door, which doesn't have a lock. So
and they can also see you, right? Like, are you in your office right now?
yeah.
So your kids could literally stand on the glass and be like,
That's a mirror, not a window.
oh, okay. I thought that was glass. And I was like, dude, they could just stare at you creepily.
Yeah, if that was glass, I would have gotten a curtain because. So
speaking of humor, have you guys seen the Hello from the Inside video? It's Adele's song, Hello, but it's all about COVID, because if you haven't, you need to do it. So good. Okay. So you don't have a lock, sorry, and that's a mirror, not glass. I was like, oh, that's gonna be awful.
All
and
up
your
to date.
kids.
All up to date now.
Yeah.
Sorry, Vince.
That'd be great though. Every time I fired up a Zoom meeting and just see little faces.
Yeah, little tiny faces. Yeah. I had this
with the nose.
Yeah.
Dude.
I got to wave to both of Vince's kids the other day, and that was a highlight of that day, because Finley was at the time that Finley like threw open the door, and he was like, "Dad."
Yep.
And I waved to him, and he wouldn't leave. And then Colette walked in, and then Natha comes running in, trying to pull them out. It was great. It was good. And I, of course, did not help. I'm like, ah!
Yep. And Colette loves to wave at the computer, even if nobody's on a call. She just waves at the computer.
That's so cute. I do have to ask you, Vince, and this is, I think, one of my favorite things about Zoom videos, because I love like checking out everybody's like cool stuff, right? Do you literally have a Nerf gun hung from a pegboard?
Well, you see, Katie, I take home safety very seriously.
Because I mean, that's amazing, right? Like it would be better if it was like right here, so that when the kids walked in, you'd be like,
right? Yeah.
Insane.
The reason that one is not with the other, not that there's an arsenal of Nerf guns in our house, but
oh, there is in ours. It's fine, no judgment.
This one is a little extra powerful, we found, so we don't let the 4-year-old run around with that and shoot people in the eye.
Is that the disc? They're like discs, right?
Well, this one's like little foamy balls.
Oh, the balls. I didn't buy those for my kids because I was like,
that's good. That's good.
Well, we have the discs. And then I made the mistake of buying the massive Fortnite one, not realizing that it was battery powered. So it shot him with a battery.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Scary stuff.
So you hide yours. I just bought my kids face masks and told them wear those when you play.
Yeah, right. We'll get there.
I mean, there are options.
Hashtag parenting goals.
All different ways to do
Hashtag
it.
not mother of the year. It's not a thing that I'm going for. I love it. I can hear him.
Yeah.
How are you coping with that? So you don't have a lock on the door. So how do you handle all that, Vince?
It's, for the most part, it's pretty fine. Like, there probably 3 or 4 times a day they'll work their way in, but and I think the longer it's gone on now. Well, like, pretty much the scenario you described, Sue. It's like the 4-year-old will get in because he can open the door, and then the 1-year-old will come toddling in, and then Nana will be like, "Oh, I didn't realize they were like, it's like they've escaped and made their way in." So, but for the call today, I specifically made a little sign and put it on the door, and he can't read it, but I said, "This is for you, so you know, don't come in the door when this is on the door."
And what does the sign say? Don't
Recording.
Oh, okay. I want you to put up like a full light and the whole setup, so you can on air.
Yeah, right.
And be like, Finley, this says on air.
Yeah.
And when you see that light, you're going to get a small electrical charge if you touch that doorknob.
Daddy amplified the door handle, and
Yeah.
fine.
Just enough to curl your hair, nothing bad.
Don't worry, boys. You'll look like Sue and Katie when you're done, but it's fine.
Yeah.
No going to the hairdresser, so we have to do it at home.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's definitely end this on a happy note. It's a great discussion so far. I'm gonna pass it off to Vince because this is his favorite. Are you looking at the notes? I didn't even ask you when we started. Do you have the notes in front of you?
Oh, I definitely have the notes up.
I have them right here, so that's why I keep looking, like the questions you sent.
Nice work. Well, we're moving on. We're going to move on and let Vince introduce his favorite segment.
Yes. So Creative Soup is the part of the show where we toss something awesome into people's creative soup. And so for this time, I think, Katie, you mentioned a thing or two already, but to end on a happy note, let's talk about just something, and the sky's the limit, whatever it is, something positive that you've personally experienced over the last couple of weeks, being staying at home.
I mean,
Other than
I
what we talked
definitely
about.
mentioned a bunch of stuff, like the relief stress, and I get to spend a lot more time with my dogs, and they really like that. But I didn't realize they like literally slept all day. I really thought they got into like something, like, go somewhere, do something, but they literally sleep all day, all day. I think that, my relationship with my boyfriend is probably getting stronger. We don't have a lot of problems or issues, and he's been really supportive through this. Like I said, that I don't really get to do anything. So it's meant a lot to me, and this is going to sound like maybe totally cheesy. But I've never really had a man in my life, and that includes my father, that has put himself in a position to take care of me. So like I have asthma, and my dad wouldn't even quit smoking when I was a kid. Like he wouldn't even smoke outside. He still smoked in the house. And I mean, that was back in the day when smoking was just kind of bad for you. But it was really bad for me. And like, so he wouldn't even give up smoking to keep me safe. But my boyfriend is going way above and beyond to make sure that I stay safe. I mean, he went to Target yesterday to pick up a few things, and he wiped everything down with a hand sanitizer, like a sanitizing wipe. Like he is taking it so seriously, and it means so much to me that he's willing to go all of those extra steps just to make sure that I don't get sick. I mean, that's a huge positive thing for me. I've never had anything like that, and that's really huge to me. So I'm incredibly blessed. This whole thing is horrible and scary, and I feel terrible, especially for older people and anybody who is afraid of it.
Mhm.
But I think it's been a huge blessing to a lot of people too.
I have to follow that, guys.
You do. Sorry about it.
No, I know, but well, I mean, I think, I say the struggles are with my kids, but to echo like what Nicole said, you know, getting to work in the mornings was like chaos. It was like getting my kids up, and I would yell like, yes, you need to wear underwear, and like, get dressed, we gotta go, we're gonna be late, you can eat breakfast at school. And you know, eating breakfast together as a family has been something we've done every day. Like I was that person that always ate lunch at my desk, and so now I'm making lunch for the boys and eating lunch with them, which has been huge. We ate out a lot as a family because I don't really cook. And so we've been doing a lot more of like eating dinner at home and as a family, and just all of those things that I think, you know, people always talk about there's, you know, people kind of become humbled, or people start to think about what's really important usually when there's something bad that happens or that makes you step back. And I think that has definitely happened, like Nicole said, for a lot of people. And what I hope is that coming out of this, a world that has been so polarized, that we come out of this remembering to just be human and be compassionate and empathetic for those around us, our neighbors, our family, our friends. You know, I, for one, have not always been the best, especially with, you know, college friends or people that are not around me regularly. I haven't been great about just sending them a message and saying, how are you? And I'm doing that now. And so that's been really good for me. And so coming out of this, it's going to be just making sure that the lessons that I've learned in this, that I remember them and that I keep them front of mind, and I make those priorities, or keep those priorities or those things in my life, and not slip back into old habits of just kind of functioning from day to day. I don't know, there's something about having a reality of how am I going to see my kids in the next couple of months to really be a good gut check for you. So I wish it wasn't the gut check that I had. I wish I would have recognized it beforehand, but it happened, and I'm thankful for even the moments, the anxiety, all of those things. I'm thankful for the lessons that I've learned out of this.
Nice. Well, you followed up beautifully. Good job.
How about you, Sue and Vince? What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Vince.
I think like one thing for us, like it is definitely for me nice to be able to, I shouldn't say to be able to, because I was able to before, but to be working from home, just to, you know, even if it's that, oh, you're coming in the office and I have to tell you that you can't come in here, like just to have that interaction throughout the day and to see them more throughout the day is cool. And then two, I think the other thing, like we definitely, like we love getting outside and all of that, but I feel like now, like that, like going on a walk, something as simple as going on a walk down the street and back is like, that's the focus, like a much higher priority on that. Like, okay, finish working. Now we're going to go on a walk and have that time and get out just a little bit, versus, you know, before it was like, well, it'd be cool if we could get out on a walk sometime. Like, so just that prioritizing something even as simple as going on a walk.
Yeah. I think that there are a lot of things I'm learning that I definitely took for granted, our ability to do things, like, and super simple things. And so here is my confession. On Friday, tomorrow night, we are going to get takeout and eat supper in the car. We're going to go to a park by the river and eat takeout in the car. And I am looking forward to that so much, to have that time, to be away from work, to be away from home, to actually have an opportunity to get out and see part of the world in a safe way. And I don't know, like I have driven, by virtue of what my route is home, I drive across the river every single night under normal circumstances. And I don't think I look at it. I don't think I really pay that much attention to it. But right now I can tell you in just over 26 hours, I'm going to get to go see that river, and I'm going to sit and watch it. And that feels like a blessing to me. It feels exciting to me. So that's my contribution.
That is true though, right? Like a lot of things that used to just be whatever, like walking my dogs, which I do all the time, is now a night out on the town.
Right.
I get to go walk my dogs after work. I can't wait. Where before it was like, oh, I gotta walk the dogs, otherwise they're gonna be a pain in the butt all night. Now it's I can't wait to go outside and rake my leaves for that 10 minutes. I'm gonna be out there raking my leaves, and I hate raking. But it is exercise, it's fresh air, it's being outside. And today, fortunately, it's in the sun, where a couple days ago it was just very gloomy and rainy, but still worth it to get outside. So even something as simple as a chore is now a blessing. Isn't it
Right.
just the craziest thing?
Right?
Yeah. So we're going to, in other words, what we're learning is we're going to emerge from this better people, right?
I hope so. I hope so.
I think
And
so.
I hope all of us hold each other accountable, right? Like remind each other of those things, of these things, like coming out of this,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
remember the things that we loved. And I think that would be amazing if humankind just reminded each other of the beauty that we learned, even in difficult, challenging, and scary time.
Yeah.
It feels like it's going to be hard to forget this, right? I know it's so easy to fall back into old habits, but some of it's got to last for people. Some of it's got to remain a focus, and something that I think a lot of families are going to hold on to, because it's epic. Like it doesn't get any weirder than this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, yeah, for sure. To your point, Nicole, we do, like, it's easy for us to think, but we have to, especially now, I think a lot of people are focused on, I want to get back to what that was, right? But now's probably the moment to say it doesn't go back to what it was. And actually, you know what, guys? It never was going to, like, nothing goes back to what it was.
Right.
So we only go forward. So, and we just have to keep reminding ourselves. And on that happy note, I have to tell you two ladies how much I appreciate being able to see your faces, because this gave me an opportunity to see you and to talk to you. And I'm tearing up a little. So thank you for being
so
with us.
nice to see people and for their presence and to have a conversation. And I think too, you know, even though this was an interview and that kind of thing, I think a lot of us were able to unload some of the things that have been rolling around in our brains. And for me, it was very healthy.
Good. I'm look at, oh, that's,
oh God.
Man. Get it together. Okay, well, we are gonna now that I've descended into madness, we're gonna wrap up. We appreciate you both so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Did you have any final words to our guests?
Nope. I
Stay
think we
strong.
said it all.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you, listeners, for tuning in and watching in. This is Sue and Vince reminding you that life's awesome if you make it awesome. We'll see you next time.